Commander Elias Moore had trained for 6 years to become part of Earth's interstellar diplomacy corps. He had studied alien languages, learned dozens of strange customs, and practiced standing still in silence for hours of skill necessary. For some species' formal greetings, he was ready for anything, or so he thought. Elias stood tall in the giant crystal hall of Zarella Prime, the capital of the planet Zarella. Around him were floating light beings, tall plant-like creatures, glowing panels that seemed to breathe with the rhythm of the planet, but none of it prepared him for her tavern. The Zarellan ambassador walked into the chamber with the grace of a queen and the calm of a mountain lake. She was at least 7 feet tall, covered in smooth lavender skin that shimmered softly under the crystal lights. Her long arms moved with flowing elegance, and her large, deep-set eyes looked like 2 pieces of polished pearl. Elias tried to focus. This was not a time to think foolish thoughts. He was Earth's representative. Humanity's honor was on his shoulders, but his human brain had other plans as Tavern passed by. Her lower form a part that slightly resembled a human's backside, though shaped differently, caught his attention. It moved with unusual rhythm, supported by muscles that rippled like art ice glutes. He thought, without meaning to. Strong, balanced, powerful. Then he froze. He remembered too late that Zarellans were telepathic. Tavorin stopped, a dash step. She turned. Her glowing eyes locked onto Ilias's face. The room went silent. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. Ilias's heart dropped. Oh no. Tavorin blinked slowly, then let out a strange, melodic trill that echoed off the crystal walls. The other Zarellans gasped. Some tilted their heads, others bowed. One tall elder even dropped to his knees. What just happened? Ilias whispered to his assistant, who stood trembling beside him. The assistant looked pale. Commander, I think you just proposed. What? Her to Ambassador Tavorin. Elias nearly fell over. I didn't say anything. You thought it. And in their culture, if someone speaks or thinks in appreciation of a royal's strength curve, he gulped. ... It is taken as a mating offer. Elias stared at Tavorin. She was still looking at him, her expression unreadable, but her eyes were glowing brighter now. I am so fired, Elias muttered. The next hour passed like a strange dream. Elias was quickly taken to a private chamber with his diplomatic team. A Zeroland translator named Kieran T. floated in, his jellyfish-like body humming gently. This is a serious matter, Kieran T. said with slow importance. The ambassador is royal. Your thought has been accepted as an honorable proposal. It didn't mean it? Elias cried. It was. It was just a human reaction. Intent does not matter to us, Kieran T. replied. Zarellans value honesty of the mind. Thought is truth. Elias rubbed his face. Can I take it back? The translator shook slightly. To withdraw a proposal to a royal is a great dishonor. It may be seen as an insult not only to her, but to her entire lineage. Elias groaned. I didn't want to insult anyone. I'm human. We notice things. That's all. Then you must go to her, Kieran T. said, and explain your heart with full clarity. But be warned. If she accepts you, your 2 worlds may be bonded by ancient law. Ancient law? That's too fast? I don't even know her. The translator glowed a soft blue. Then perhaps you should begin. Tavorin sat in a quiet garden when Elias approached. The trees here had leaves shaped like stars, and the air smelled like honey and wind. She did not look at him right away. You are brave to come, she said finally. Elias sighed. I'm here to explain what I thought earlier. It wasn't a proposal. It's not the way you think. She turned her head. Then what was it? He hesitated. It was instinct, human instinct. We sometimes admire people physically without meaning anything serious. That is strange, she said softly. In my world, such thoughts are shared only with deep intent. You spoke clearly, admired my form. That is a truth. It was the truth, Elias admitted. But I didn't mean to ask for a bond or marriage or whatever your custom is. It was just a moment of honest reaction. I'm sorry. Tavorin studied him. So, in your species, the body and mind are not connected? He smiled a little. We're a mess, honestly. But we try. She rose to her feet. She was taller than him, but she didn't seem angry anymore. I will not accept your proposal, she said. Elias breathed a sigh of relief until she added, not yet. He blinked. Not yet. I have never had someone admire me that way before. It was bold, strange, but not unpleasant. She stepped closer. If your kind separates thought and meaning, then I must understand you better. Elias looked up at her. For a moment, he forgot the politics, the rules, and the pressure. Does that mean you'll let me explain more? Davrin's eyes sparkled. You have much to teach me, Elias of Earth, but remember, words may lie, thoughts do not. As she turned to walk away, Elias noticed her pause just slightly before. Continuing forward, he didn't say anything, but this time he made sure not to think anything either. The next morning on Zarella was calm. But Elias Moore did not feel calm at all. He sat in his temporary quarters, staring out at the glowing city towers. The air outside was clean. The sky was a soft purple, and birds with rainbow wings flew past the windows. Everything looked peaceful, but Elias knew that deep inside the Zarellan government, confusion and tension were growing. He hadn't meant to cause trouble. A simple, honest thought had turned into a cultural explosion. Now he was in the middle of a political storm. His communicator buzzed. It was his assistant, Lyra. Commander, the council has requested your presence, she said. They've called us a judgment of intention. What does that mean? Elias asked, already worried. It's their way of deciding if your thoughts were serious. Elias sighed and stood up. So they're putting my brain on trial? Lyra nodded. Basically, yes. The council hall was silent when Elias entered. A wide ring of Zarellan leaders sat in tall chairs made of smooth stone and living vines. Tavarin was also there, standing in the center. Her face was calm, but her eyes followed Elias with quiet curiosity. Elias was guided to the platform beside her. He tried to keep his posture strong, though his hands were sweating. A Zarellan elder stood up. We are gathered, the elder said, to decide whether the Earth-human Elias Moore truly meant his thought as a bond proposal to Ambassador Tavarin, or if it was spoken without meaning. Soft murmur passed through the council. Tavarin spoke next. I ask only for truth. In our culture, thoughts are sacred. We do not play with feelings. But perhaps humans are different. Elias cleared his throat. I never meant to play with anyone's feelings, he said. Where I come from, people sometimes admire others without meaning to propose anything. My thought was honest, but it wasn't a message. It wasn't a request. It was just natural human reaction. The elder raised an eyebrow. So humans cannot control their thoughts? Elias scratched his head. No, not always. Thoughts come before we even realize them. But what we choose to do with those thoughts, that's what matters. The room was silent for a moment. Then Tavarin stepped closer. Then let us test this idea. The elder nodded. We shall begin the trial of sincerity. Elias followed Tavarin into a long crystal corridor. The walls shimmered with soft light and the floor hummed under his feet. What's the trial of sincerity? He asked. Tavarin gave him a sideways glance. It's how we test the heart behind a thought. You must pass 3 stages. Observation, action, and sharing. Elias blinked. Sounds like a game show. She tilted her head. What is a game show? Never mind, he said quickly. Stage 1, observation. In a quiet garden, Elias and Tavarin were asked to sit and observe each other without speaking. It was harder than it sounded. Zarellans believed that silence revealed the truth of a person. Every blink, every small movement, every breath, these were messages. Elias sat, trying to be still, but his human mind kept racing. He watched Tavarin. Her posture was perfect. She didn't blink much. Her face stayed calm, but her fingers twitched. When the wind blew, she was nervous too. That made Elias relax a little. He smiled slightly. Tavarin noticed. She raised an eyebrow. You think something amusing? She asked telepathically, without moving her lips. Elias shrugged. I just realized you're also trying hard. Her lips curved into a very small smile. Stage 2. Action. The next test was strange. Elias was told to carry a small, glowing sphere through a floating obstacle course. Tavern followed him, guiding him only with short signals. The point of the test was to see if he could trust her instructions without doubting or hesitating. Midway through the course, Elias lost his balance and almost dropped the sphere into a moving water stream. Tavern said nothing, but her hand shot out and steadied him. You could have let me fall, Elias said. She responded, I could not let you fail alone. That is not how bonding works. For the first time, Elias realized this wasn't just about tradition or rules. Tavern was watching his choices just as he was watching hers. Stage 3. Sharing this. Part was the hardest. Inside a memory chamber, Elias had to share a real personal memory with Tavern. One that showed his true self. He sat down on the soft crystal floor. The room around him turned dark, then lit up with images from his mind, his childhood, his training. The day he lost his older sister to a space accident, Tavern sat beside him and watched silently. When it ended, she gently placed her hand on the floor between them. I feel your pain, she said softly. You have loved and lost. That is rare among diplomats. Elias nodded. It's why I try to keep things light. Jokes, smiles, small thoughts. She looked at him. But even small thoughts can change everything. After the trial, they walked together through the garden once more. The stars above Zarella blinked. Like tiny flames, Tavern stopped near a tree with glowing leaves. I will not demand a bond, she said, but your sincerity was real. I believe you did not mean to propose, that you did not lie either. Elias gave a half smile. I didn't expect my honesty to start a diplomatic crisis. She looked at him. Do all human males think such things about alien females? He laughed. No, just me, apparently. Taviran paused, then asked something unexpected. If I had been human, would you have still thought the same? Elias looked at her carefully. Yeah, I think I would have. She gave a slow nod. Then maybe. You're not so different from us after all. Yes. As they parted for the night, Elias felt something shift. He had come here to avoid conflict. Instead, he had made the biggest mistake of his career, and somehow it had started something curious, maybe even something real. The sun on Zarella was soft and golden. It moved slowly across the sky like a calm wave. But Elias Moore was not calm. He sat inside a large circular room called the Learning Hall, a place where important knowledge was passed from one species to another. Today the topic was how not to accidentally propose to a royal again. A screen floated in front of him, glowing gently. Zarellan translator Kieran T. floated beside him, his voice smooth. Today, Commander Moore, you will learn the meaning behind thoughts in Zeralon culture, so you do not start another ... unexpected bond, Elias groaned. I said one honest thing. One. Now I'm in a space classroom. Kieran T. blinked calmly. In our world, words can be false. Thoughts are pure. That is why our people trust telepathy more than speech. Elias leaned back. Oh, well, humans. Think 1,000 things a minute. Most of them are nonsense. We don't expect people to hear them. Then your species must be very confusing, Kieran T. said. You have no idea, Elias replied. Meanwhile, in the royal quarters, Tavern stood before the circle of honor where elders reviewed her behavior. Some of them were concerned. One elder spoke softly. You allow this human to pass our trials? You accept his words. Are you sure he is not playing with our ways? Tevrin held her head high. He is strange, yes. But he is not false. I see no lies in him. Then do. You believe he is worthy of our bond? Tevrin didn't answer right away. She remembered his laugh, his clumsy hands during the obstacle trial, the memory he had shared of his sister. She remembered his thought. Clear, bold, honest. He may not understand our customs, she said, but he respects them. That matters more. Later that Daileus was invited to a private garden again. Tavern waited there under a large tree with silver leaves. A table stood between them, filled with small dishes of glowing fruit. Elias sat down across from her. You wanted to see me? Tavern nodded. You have completed the trial of sincerity. But before I decide anything, I must ask you a question. Straightened. I'm listening. She looked at him carefully. If our bond had been real, if you truly meant to propose, what would your life look like with me? Elias blinked. That's a big question. She tilted her head. On Zarella, bonding is for life. It is not a joke. You would live with me, work with me, raise young if chosen. You would share not only thoughts but paths. Elias took a breath. I don't know if I can imagine that yet, he said honestly. We come from different worlds, but I do know I respect you. I like talking to you. You challenge me. That doesn't happen often. She didn't smile, but her eyes softened. I have studied many humans, she said. None have shared truth the way you did. Most come with shields. You came with accident-tanned honesty. Elias laughed. You make it sound like a compliment. It is, she replied. Back at Earth HQ, trouble begins while Elias was trying to understand Zarelon bonding. Earth's diplomatic team was in panic mode. His assistant, Lyra, was on a video call with Earth's High Command. An angry voice shouted. From the screen, he did what? He complimented her anatomy. With his thoughts, Lyra explained nervously. Does he not understand he's representing all of humanity? Lyra nodded. He understands now, very clearly. Another voice joined. We need to control the story. If the Zarellans say he proposed, we say it was a misunderstanding. Deny everything. Make it official. Lyra hesitated. That may insult. Them, they treat thoughts as truth. Well, we treat this as a PR disaster, the voice barked. Elias finds out that evening. Elias received a private message. It was short and cold. Return to Earth. Mission on hold. All statements will be cleared by High Command. Do not speak to Zarellan. Elias felt like someone had punched him. He stood outside, looking at the stars. So much had happened so fast. And now Earth wanted to erase it all, pretend it never happened. He thought of Tevrin's eyes when she asked, What would your life look like with me? He didn't know the answer. He knew one thing for sure. Lying about it wasn't. Right. The honest decision. The next morning, Elias requested a final meeting with Tavrin. They met again in the garden, where their story had started. She looked serious. Is this goodbye? Earth wants me to leave, he said. They want to reset everything. Say it was a mistake. She looked away. They wish to call your thought false? Yes. Silence grew between them. Then Elias stepped closer. I can't do that, he said. I didn't mean to propose, but I also won't lie. You deserve honesty. You always gave it to me. Tavern studied his face. So what will you do? He smiled sadly. Tell the truth, even if it causes trouble. She stared at him for a long moment. Then she said, Perhaps your species is more brave than we believed. The broadcast later that day, Elias stood before the Zarellan Council. In Earth's communication drones, he spoke calmly, clearly. I did not mean to propose, but I did admire her, and I meant every word I thought. I respect Tavern, I honor your culture, and I will not pretend my thoughts were lies just to protect my career. The Zarellan elders murmured. Tavern stood up beside him. Our world, truth, matters more than perfection, she said. And this human has given more truth than most. She paused. I reject his proposal as it was not meant, but I accept his courage, and I invite him to stay as a friend. More, if fate allows. The room was silent. Then came soft, respectful trills. A new kind of peace had begun. Elias Moore didn't sleep that night. He had just stood in front of the Zarellan Council, in front of Earth's eyes, and told the truth. He didn't deny his thoughts. He didn't blame culture. He didn't pretend it never happened. And now, he was waiting for the consequences. Earth responds back on Earth. Things were not calm. News channels exploded with headlines. Human commander admits to alien love thought on official mission. Proposal or PR nightmare. Is humanity ready for interstellar romance? The Earth's government didn't like any of it. Inside the Earth's diplomacy command, voices were loud. This is out of control. One officer shouted, "We trained him to follow protocol, not to fall in love with a space princess." Another replied, "He didn't fall in love. He made a mistake. But now, he's being honest." The room went quiet. Then the head of interstellar relations spoke. "Honest or not," she said, "we now have two options.
His statement?
Or stand with it. And if we stand with it," someone asked, "then we accept that our representative has formed a personal connection with a royal alien, and that our future with Zarella may depend on that connection." Everyone stared. Zarella's reaction, and Zarella. The news of Elias's speech spread quickly. Many Zarellans were surprised. Some laughed at the human mistake. Others were deeply moved. For them, the fact that a human stood by his thoughts of him, when it brought him trouble, was a powerful sign of sincerity in Zarellan history. Honest intention had always been more important than perfection. Elias was becoming something rare in there. As a foreigner who respected their values without trying to change them, Teva-Ryn reflects Deverin sat alone under the moon tree, watching the stars above. She had not expected any of this. At first, she was shocked, then confused, then curious now. She was something else. Elias had said he didn't mean to propose, but still stood in front of all and claimed his words. He didn't hide. He didn't lie. She respected that. But she also felt something else growing inside her. Something soft. Something dangerous? Could it be trust? A visit from Lyra? The next day, Elias was surprised to see Lyra. His Earth's assistant at his door. "Lyra, you came in person?" Elias asked. She stepped inside, looking serious. "I came with a message from Earth's High Command." "Let me guess," Elias said. "They want me to apologize again?"
Ow.
Lyra shook her head. "No, not anymore." Elias raised an eyebrow. "Really?" She smiled a little. "They've changed their approach. After your speech, public opinion shifted. People on Earth liked what you did, said it was human, brave, honest." Elias blinked. "So now I'm a hero? More like a symbol," she said. "But here's the real news. Earth is considering a formal alliance with Zarella. They want you to be the bridge." Elias froze. "The bridge?" Lyra nodded. "Not just a diplomat, living connection. Someone who represents what happened and what's possible." He sat down slowly. "I just said what I was thinking. That's all." She laughed. "Exactly. And somehow that may be the beginning of something bigger than we imagined." Meeting. Again that evening, Elias was invited to Tavern's personal quarters. This was rare. Very few outsiders were ever allowed into that space. He entered with care. The room was filled with soft blue lights, floating candles, and slow, peaceful music. Tavern stood near the balcony, looking out at the glowing city below. "You came," she said softly. "You asked," he replied. She turned to face him. "Has changed in just a few days." Elias nodded. "More than I expected." They sat together on a smooth stone bench. A warm breeze passed between them. "I heard Earth wants to form an alliance," she said. "Yeah, and they want me to be part of it." Tavern looked at him with deep eyes. "And what do you want?" Elias didn't answer right away. He looked at her, this strong, calm, proud leader from another world, being he had once embarrassed by accident, and now strangely felt deeply connected to. "I think I want to stay," he said. "Not just for politics, for you, for this." She blinked slowly. "This?" He smiled. "Whatever this is." An invitation 2 days later. A grand event was announced, a unity ceremony between Earth and Zarella. It wasn't a marriage, it wasn't a treaty. It was something new, a symbol of mutual respect and shared future. Tevrin would represent Zarella. Elias Moore would represent Earth. Together, they would speak not as rulers or lovers. but as two people who found understanding in a strange and honest moment. The night. Before the ceremony, Elias couldn't sleep again. He stood alone on a balcony. Watching the twin moons rise, Tavrin joined him quietly. "You still worry?" she asked. He smiled. "Always. That's a human thing." She looked up at the moons. "I used to worry that no one would ever admire me. Not just my words or mind, but all of me." Elias looked at her. "I guess my mistake wasn't a mistake after all." She smiled, a full, warm smile this time. It was a beginning. They stood in silence. Two beings. Two species. One shared moment. The unity ceremony was just one day away. Elias Moore stood in front of a mirror, adjusting the ceremonial robe given to him by the Zeralon Council. It was silver and light, stitched with threads that glowed like soft stars he had never worn. Anything like it? Behind him, Lyra entered the room. "You clean up well," she said, smiling. Elias turned. "I feel like a space wizard." Lyra chuckled. "You're about to become the first human in history to share a unity bond with an alien species." "I know," Elias said, taking a deep breath. "And somehow, I'm still more nervous than I was during my pilot exams." Lyra walked closer. "We're not just representing Earth. You're representing honesty. That's what people see." "In you now?" Elias nodded. "I didn't plan any of this, you know. I think that's why it worked," Lyra said. "Because it was real." Across the city, Tavrin prepares in another chamber. Tavrin stood quietly while her attendants placed a delicate silver crown on her head. The crown had a single glowing stone at the center, which pulsed with her heartbeat. One of the older Zeralon advisors stepped forward. "You are sure about this?" he asked. Tavrin looked at herself in the mirror. "Yes. He is not of our kind." "No," she said softly, "but he has shown the kind of heart we teach our children to respect." The advisor bowed. "Then may this union open a new path between our worlds." The Grand Hall of Unity, the hall was unlike anything on Earth. It floated high above the city, with no walls, only wide, transparent panels of energy that kept the wind out. Above them, the sky shifted from blue to violet as the twin suns began to set. Thousands of Zeralons and hundreds of humans filled the circular seating areas. Floating cameras hovered quietly, broadcasting the event across both planets. Elias walked out first. His robe shimmered in the fading light. Then Tavrin entered, wearing a long silver cloak that moved like water. Her steps were slow, graceful. Full of meaning, they met in the center of the hall. Beneath a crystal arch, an elder stepped forward and spoke in both languages. "Today, we witness a bond not of blood, but of belief. Not of body, but of understanding." He turned to Elias. "Elias Moore of Earth. You came in mistake, but stood in truth. Do you offer this bond with clear heart and mind?" Elias looked into Tavrin's eyes. "I do." Then the elder turned to her. "Tavrin of Zarella. You were challenged by confusion, but chose trust. Do you accept this bond with honor and will?" "I do," she said. The elder raised both hands. A soft bell rang through the air. "Then, let it be known between Earth and Zarella. A bridge has been built, not by power, not by force, but by thought." The shared memory after the ceremony, special Zarellan ritual, began the memory sharing. In this tradition, two beings joined in a mental space called the harmonic field, where they shared one memory each. Not to change it, not to explain it, it's just to understand each other. Tavrin and Elias sat across from each other, eyes closed, hands gently touching. The room around them disappeared in the harmonic field. Elias found himself standing inside Tavrin's memory. She was younger, perhaps in her teen years, and walking down a glowing path while older Zeralons whispered around her. Some laughed, others stared. Elias felt her pain. Her body was different from most of her kind, stronger, curvier. She had always felt out of place, until now. Then, memory faded. Elias showed her his memory next. He was back in flight school. Tired, unsure, sitting alone on a roof and thinking of quitting. His sister sat beside him, telling him not to give up. "You don't need to be perfect," she said. "You just need to be honest. That's what makes you strong." When the memory ended, they opened their eyes. No words were needed. They understood each other. A new beginning after the ceremony. The celebration began. Zerlins danced in wide circles, their movements slow and glowing. Humans watched with wide eyes, clapping, smiling, and even trying to join in. Food was shared, stories were told, laughter filled the air. But in the middle of it all, Elias and Tavrin found a quiet corner. They stood together, watching people from two worlds enjoying. "The same space, it's beautiful," Elias said. Tavrin nodded. "So much fear was between us, but now there is light." Elias looked at her carefully. "Do you think we'll last?" She turned to him. "As friends, or something more? Whatever we become." Tavrin placed a hand over his heart. "We began with one thought, honest and simple. If we keep that truth, we'll be fine." The broadcast later that night, both worlds watched a shared message. Sent from the Unity Hall, Elias stood before the camera. "Hello, Earth. Hello, Zarella," he said. "I came here to do a job. I was trained to follow rules and avoid mistakes, but I made a big one. I thought something honest. It changed everything." He paused, then smiled. "But maybe that's how change really starts, not with perfect plans, but with real connection. Honest words, and a little courage." Tavrin joined him beside the screen. "We are different," she said, "but we are not strangers. We can learn from each other. Maybe together, we can become something better." The message ended with applause from both planets. It wasn't a marriage. It wasn't a treaty, but it was the start of a new chapter for both worlds. Months had passed since the unity ceremony between Earth and Zarella. The moment that started with a small, honest thought had now grown into something much bigger, something neither planet had expected. Commander Elias Moore was no longer just a diplomat. He had become a symbol, living bridge between two civilizations. The story of his accidental proposal was now told in classrooms, diplomatic meetings, and even comedy shows across the galaxy. But to Elias, it was still personal. A different kind of mission. Elias stood aboard the new Unity vessel, the first ship co-designed by humans and Zarellans. Its walls curved like Zarellan buildings but used Earth steel and tech. The ship had no weapons. It was made for peace, learning, and connection. Beside him stood Tavrin, now officially called Zarellan Peace Voice. They looked out a large viewing window as the ship drifted above a third planet, Terran 9, a world where humans and Zarellans had both tried to build small colonies. "This mission is different," Tavrin said. Elias nodded. "No speeches, no cameras, just people from both sides, working together." She looked at him. "And do you still believe we are stronger together?" "I believe it more every day," he said. "The trouble on Terra 9, but peace wasn't easy." When they landed on Terranine, they were met with tension. Zarellan settlers had built their homes on the soft plains, growing plants that responded to music and light. Human engineers had built on the hills with straight lines, strong towers, machines that ran day and night. The two groups lived side by side but not together. Small disagreements had grown into bigger problems. Accusations were flying. Noise. Complaints. Land boundaries. Resource limits. When Elias and Tavrin arrived, no one smiled. One human leader said, "Their buildings sing all night, we can't sleep." Zarellan Elder replied, "Their machines poison the ground, we cannot grow." Elias looked at Tavrin. "Well," he whispered, "here comes the real test." Understanding the route over the next few days, Elias and Tavrin didn't give orders. They didn't take sides. Instead, they listened. They sat with workers, elders, children. They asked questions. They walked between farms and factories. They slept in simple shelters and ate from both kitchens. And slowly, something became clear. It wasn't just about noise or machines. It was about fear. Each side was afraid the other would take control, change them, erase their ways. Elias stood before the human group. "Do you know what started the peace between Earth and Zarella?" he asked. An accident, someone said? Exactly, Elias replied. I made a mistake. I thought something dumb, but I didn't lie. I owned it, and Tavern didn't punish me. She listened, paused. We didn't erase our differences. We started with respect. Tavern spoke to her own people. Peace does not mean silence. It means space for each voice. Earth sounds different than Zarella, but difference is not danger. It is music if we learn how to hear it. Shared solution one evening. Something changed. A young human child began playing with a Zerlin child near the main garden. They laughed. They ran through both sides of the camp. They built a model of a house half Zerlin curves, half human walls. The adults watched. No one stopped. Them. Later, the human builders and Zerlin growers held a meeting together for the first time. No leaders, no translators. Just people. Ideas flowed. A new plan was made. Shared quiet zones, rotating schedules for sound-based farming, clean energy systems that didn't harm the soil. And most importantly, a new community center built with designs from both worlds. Elias and Taverin reflect weeks later. Keese had returned to Terran 9. Not perfect, but real. Elias and Taverin sat on a small hill. Watching the sunset? You know, Elias said, when I first arrived here, I was just trying not to get fired. Taverin smiled. Now I understand what connection really means. She looked at him with warm eyes. Do you ever regret what you thought that day? Well, he laughed. Not at all. It was a dumb thought, but it was mine. And you didn't run away from it. I could have, she said. But I was curious, and I liked that you didn't hide. They were quiet for a moment. Then Elias said, Do you ever think, if we hadn't met that way, would this ever have happened? Tavern shook her head. No, that moment was strange. But it was real, when real things last. A galaxy watches. The story of Terran 9 spread across the galaxy. Other species who had stayed away from humans and Zerlins began to take notice. If they can solve problems through honesty and trust, one alien report read, perhaps it is time we speak to them too. And so new doors began to open slowly. But surely, final message to Earth back on the Unity vessel. Elias sat in front of a camera for one last message to Earth. He looked into the lens. People ask me how we brought peace to Zarella, or how. We helped two groups on Terra 9 learn to live side by side. He smiled. It started with a thought. A silly, honest thought. I didn't try to be smart. I just noticed someone. And I didn't lie about it. He paused. Being human means making mistakes. It means thinking strange things. But it also means we can learn. We can listen. We can try again. He leaned forward. So, if you ever find yourself in a strange place with people you don't understand, don't hide. Don't pretend to be perfect. Be honest. Be kind. Be human. A final walk. Elias and Taverin walked side by side under the twin moons of Zarella. They didn't speak much. They didn't have to. Their story was no longer just theirs. It belonged to two planets now. And maybe one day, to the entire galaxy.